would help. Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming along and joining me this evening. I do always appreciate everybody that comes and follows along on the show. Here we are on a Tuesday, and so far the week has been pretty good. Sun shines out, at least in my area it is. And I don't have too much to complain about. Things are like starting to, I don't know, look a little bit better on the horizon. They are talking about opening up certain businesses again. So I guess that would be kind of good for small business owners who are kind of hurting right now. But again, it's all changing every day, day by day. So who knows? But just again, I always try to tell everybody stay on the positive side. So guys, if this is your first time um, following along on the show, you can check us out on our YouTube page where we stream live Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Do us a favor if you're watching us there live. Hit the like and subscribe button because we are trying to build our viewership there. And you can also set the notifications so that whenever we do have a new live or new episodes are uploaded, that sort of thing, you can go over there and check it out and leave the comments in there. And I usually reply back to them as soon as I possibly can. So do us a favor, check us out on YouTube at our page. It's Made from Scratch Broadcast there. Then you can also check us out on all our other social media platforms. We're streaming live right now on Twitter. And you can follow us there at MFSB Live there. We stream there. You can drop in your comments. I'll be able to interact with those as well. We do our Facebook page as well in the same name, Made from Scratch Broadcast there. And then you can also follow us along now on LinkedIn Live. So if you're on LinkedIn, guys, drop your comments in and let me know that you're watching. And again, I love having access to LinkedIn Live because it's one of my favorite platforms. And I do have a lot of friends and associates on there who follow me. And I do always appreciate all the kindness and support and love everybody shows for the show. So thank you very much for that. And then last but not least, you can always check us out on our website as well. And that is at www.madefromscratchpodcast there. And you can also find the show streaming live there. You can find access to our past video episodes. You can also find our podcast episodes and our streaming live radio station as well. So thank you for, again, joining me this evening. And, we already got people commenting on LinkedIn, which I love. So Beth Crosby, thank you for following along. And then tomorrow's guest, everybody, is also already watching along. My good friend, Brian Schulman. Man, awesome, bro. I appreciate you. And I look forward to our conversation tomorrow. And, but let me go ahead and start about with tonight's guest. So guys, let me tell you about, who I'm bringing on this evening. Her name is Laura Rubin, and she's interesting. She's an interesting person. She has her own business where she actually empowers women in their midlife, and she's used a lot of her own creation and her experiences to, build this way to help women learn that no matter what, no matter your age, that you can change your life and you can still make a difference. And again, we've had an incredible conversation about this, and I think you guys are going to fall in love with what she has to offer. So without any further ado, guys, let me bring on Laura Rubin. Hey, Laura, how are you doing?
Hi, Gabriel. I'm doing great, Gabriel. How are you?
I am good, and we already have comments rolling in on LinkedIn already about people just coming along and saying hi. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so thank you again, Brian. Mark Moshe, thank you, sir. Mike Padurano, thank you, bro, my friend. So Matt, again, people following along, they're it's always fun to see people come along and I get to share this message in this form and find interesting people like yourself. So let's go ahead and just start and kind of jump into, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started your journey into helping empower women who are in their midlife. So that sort of thing.
So you bet. So I'm 56 and I finally know what I want to be when I grow up. But it took me a long time to get there. I started as a serial entrepreneur. I loved working for myself. I also worked in the corporate world, but I did a lot of jumping from I never kept a job for longer than 3 years because I'd get bored and I'd want to move on and do something else. So then I'd find something that I was good at. I'd work for myself. And then I'd go back to working in an office situation. So I did that for a long time, just kind of jumping around. And at one point, I worked for a concrete company. They closed, and I decided that I wanted to try something different. I wanted to take that opportunity to not just go back to finding another 9-to-5 job that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And so at that time, I was really into working out, and I had a personal trainer that I worked with who suggested that I become a personal trainer. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. Something different, something that I really enjoy, because I enjoy working out very much. And so I studied, I took the test, I became a personal trainer, and started working and doing those things, and worked at a club for a while, which I really enjoyed, and then went out on my own and did that as well. And but again, I hit that wall where I was like, something's missing. This isn't it. Oh my goodness. I thought this was it. I thought this was the one, this was so much of a departure from what I was doing. I really felt like I was on the right path. And there were a lot of things about it that I loved. But I finally decided, okay, this is it once and for all. I'm going to stop jumping from thing to thing. I'm almost 50. I want to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, because I don't want to, in 6 years or 3 years or whatever, be in the same place and have to start again, figure out what I really want to do. And so at that point, I went on the journey, and I started just discovering who I was, what really was important to me, what I wanted to do. And in all this discovery and learning that I did all on my own, I basically went on the journey by myself in the beginning. I realized that I really enjoyed helping. It was like, I realized I wanted to be a teacher, and that was really, so the personal training was part of that teacher and kind of brought me along. And I realized that I was getting so much enjoyment out of the information about transforming myself at midlife. And I realized that there were other women in my situation. And I also realized that the information out there, there was not a lot of information geared to our age group. Our demographic that didn't have kids, that were very successful, but didn't know what the next steps of their lives would be. And it's just a different place. And so I decided, because I was so excited about what I was learning, and I realized that teaching and sharing was what I wanted to do, I wanted to bring other women alongside me in midlife. And so I became, and you called it in this thing, the midlife navigator, which I love that title. And so I am the midlife navigator that helps other women navigate midlife so that they can live a life on their terms, figure out who they are and what matters to them. And it's been a super exciting journey. And I really enjoy working with the women that I do.
That's awesome. I love that. And, when talking about your journey, because we all have to take that first step somewhere. So what would you say was the hardest part in starting this revolution that you're out there spreading the message about? What was the one thing that you say, okay, this, looking back on it now, you say, okay, that was really hard, but I got past it?
I think was taking that first step that was a complete departure, because for me, every time I got bored, I immediately went back to what I was used to. I went back to the comfort zone. I went back to, working on autopilot, what I was used to. So the hardest part for me was really trusting that I wanted to do it right this time. I didn't want to just start something and stop something. So to really take that leap and fully invest, and when it got hard, not to turn around and go, okay, I'm just going to go back to what was easy again, and to continue moving forward when I wasn't sure which avenue to take, or was I on the right path, but I just kept believing in my intuition. But it was that first step, and realizing, just getting off the same old. and
Yeah.
doing it and just believing in myself. And then, like I said, when it got tough, continuing on that journey and not immediately just going, okay, here this is too hard. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So you've had your share of setbacks
You
along in
bet.
this journey. So what advice would you give women wanting to take a course, like take that first step, or wanting to at least step outside that comfort zone? What would you share? What would advice you'd give someone who came and asked you, say, hey, I love what you're doing and I want to try it myself?
I think the first thing that you need to do is believe in yourself and know and trust that gut feeling, trust that intuition, but believe that that is giving you the right advice and that you're headed in the right direction. And then the next thing I would say is don't do it alone. I started and I did a lot of my journey by myself and did my own discovery and my own process, which was great. But it was so much better when I finally came along other women, like-minded women that helped me, that helped guide me and helped me be accountable. That made all the difference in the world, just to be with other like-minded women that supported me and, was kind of my cheerleaders, were my cheerleaders to continue on, on the path as well. So I would say, believe in yourself, trust your gut, and then, find women or find accountability partners that will help you and keep you accountable and moving down the path.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of when you start something, and it can be a bit overwhelming. So it's great advice to tell somebody to reach out and
Mm-hmm.
find those like-minded people. And I love what you're doing, because again, you're actually providing that resource to a lot of these women who, again, when you went looking down this journey, you didn't find it as readily available now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with the ability through social media, through technology, you're able to spread that message a lot more. So I'm glad that you're actually putting this out there, and I love spreading your message to tell people, hey, look, if you're looking for something like this, it's out here.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to go find. And
That's right.
let me tell you what. Take out, just like why I called you the navigator. Take out that compass. Go find Laura, and she will help you point in the direction you need to go. So let's talk about that, because you do a workshop which you call the True North Traveler. And
Mm-hmm.
how did you come up with the concept behind this? Because I do love the fact that you're encompassing that sort of trying to find your true direction and trying to find your true north. So how did you come up with all that? And where can people go to find to find your workshops and that sort of thing?
You bet. So as you said, I really was enamored with finding my true north. That just really resonated with me. And I know that people use it a lot, and it's a term that's used a lot, but for me, it really resonated. And it resonated with the journey. I even, I have a little mantra that I would tell myself: I am a true north traveler on a journey to explore, discover, and create a life of passion, purpose, and fulfillment. So that was kind of my little mantra that I would tell myself. And so from there, it's the compass. It's that whole theme of traveling. And I love to travel also. I'm a big, hopefully when this is all over, I'm going to go back to traveling again, because I absolutely love traveling. So it also fit just who I was as well. And so, and then you bringing on the navigator, that was perfect. That just all aligns together. And the idea behind the True North Traveler gatherings is we're all traveling together. We're all looking for our true north. And I believe that there is nothing more powerful than gathering women together and lifting each other up, being one voice, and just really propelling each other forward. I know that I have experienced several groups and I've gone to conferences and summits and workshops, and I come away so inspired and motivated from those. And so I really saw myself doing the same thing, bringing these women together, offering them great information from various speakers, and having them leave just totally on fire and ready to take on the next chapter of their lives.
Yeah, and that's something that we had a little conversation prior, that I love, that the fact that you're actually allowing these women to not only find the resources to start their journeys, but to also know that, they're not just defined by titles. They're not defined by, what we were discussing, housewife, secretary, banker, executive. You're not the title that that you are, but you're actually a person. And that's one of the things that I love that you dig deeper in, is you like to teach people and help guide people into finding that missing element. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your own journey finding that missing element in your life.
You bet. So we live by labels. We're a college student. We're a newlywed. We are, we're a secretary. We're a wife. We're a mother. And we define ourselves by those labels. And yet, so when you strip those labels away, we don't know who we are. The label is just a description of what we do. It is not who we are deep down inside. And so when we have a tendency to live by those labels and think that they are who we are and they define us. So again, when we take those away, we don't know who we are. So when the kids leave the house, when we get divorced, when we lose our job, all of those things. So we no longer have that title. We no longer know who we are. So what I do with my clients and what I help my women do is discover who they are regardless of that title. So they can be a secretary, but they know who they are. They have their core values, their true beliefs, and those are the things that guide them. That's the compass. That's what's going to guide them to their true north. And they can find their true north and have their true north as a secretary, as a housewife, as a mother, all of those things. But they get to the point where they know who they are and they're living life on their terms, not on what the label says that they should live.
Yeah. And again, that's awesome because again, our reality is not defined by somebody's opinion of what we are. So I love the fact that you share that message. So, what are some of the things that you kind of go a little bit into detail in your workshops with a lot of these women? What can they expect to learn if they say, well, I'm interested now, you've caught my attention?
Yeah. So it's the same thing. So my workshops are the same as what I do in my one-on-one coaching. Only in my workshops, I bring in other speakers and other people to share their knowledge as well. But the roadmap is such that we start with self-awareness, self-care. We learn how to get off autopilot and take care of ourselves. And that just doesn't, that doesn't mean just bubble baths and, that kind of thing. But meditation. So we take care of ourselves physically, we take care of ourselves spiritually, and we take care of ourselves mentally. So I work with my ladies to get them off autopilot, because by the time we reach midlife, most of the time, we can probably say we live the majority of our lives on autopilot. We're doing things that are shoulds or just what we're used to. And so the idea is to strip all of that so that we have a blank slate and a starting point so that we can rebuild, and we can take that, because there's no preconceived notions. There's no, what our perceptions are, and I help them start just becoming mindful, just simple things like what in their day was the favorite part of their day. Whereas, normally they just go through a day and at the end of the day, how was your day? Oh, it was fine, kind of thing. So we work on just little tiny steps of becoming mindful and present. So they start getting off autopilot. Huge deal. Then once we do that, then we start looking at, what are your strengths? What are your skills? Yeah. What are your core values? So, what is it that makes you tick, and what is important to you, and how do you want to live your life, and use these as your guide? I help them, and we do this in the workshops. I help them write a midlife manifesto, which everybody's manifesto is different, but it's a guideline that you can use, in every aspect of your life. And this whole journey is just about figuring out who they are. And then at the end, they walk away with a roadmap of what the next steps are. What can they step into? So that's kind of the whole process. And I do that in my one-on-ones, and then they get that same thing in a workshop, only I bring in other speakers. They get to do it in a group. We work in small groups. It's a great experience.
I love that though. Yeah. So you're covering a lot of the you're covering a lot of the basics that I love to talk about whenever you're starting to look down that path for what I call the path of enlightenment.
Hmm.
You're sitting there looking spiritually. You're sitting there looking at yourself mentally. You're looking at yourself physically, because all three of those things correlate in how you're going to operate as a person. And that's, you know, uh, I even go, a few deeper, and these are just my own personal journeys. Is I went emotionally, and how to
Hmm.
learn, and how to, again, like you're talking about self-awareness, emotionally is, learning how to understand your feelings, good or bad, and taking them in and letting them, kind of finding out what triggers some of these emotions, so that sort of thing. And then, of course, I this is kind of like, I know it's kind of untimely right now, but like financially as well. Um,
Hmm.
because all three of those, all five of these things can, if one of those is out of kilter, they can really cause an imbalance. So you really have to kind of, you kind of, like you said, you build your own manifesto, which I love. You can actually sit there and go back and look at, again, your roadmap. So if you're feeling lost, guess what?
Yep.
Who
That's
else do you
exactly
who else do you trust more than yourself? And those are your
right.
own words, your own writing, to open it up and go, hey, yeah, you know what? I did step away a little bit from this. Maybe I need to go back and revisit it. But I love that, because you're rebuilding their foundation essentially,
Yes.
and building them back up. And uh, you know, again, we were talking a little bit earlier, is that yes, you might be 45 years of age, but you might have another 40 years to live, which is a whole nother eternity. So
Yeah.
why would you want to waste it, like you said, on autopilot?
That's right.
Why not live for this, again, like you have in your thing, discovery? Why don't you want to live and see what life has in store for you? So again, man, it's just such a beautiful message, and I love what you've crafted, because you've used your own experiences
Oh yeah.
to build this, and you've been through a lot. And one of the things that why I bring people like yourself on here is because your experiences are going to resonate with somebody. Somebody out there right now is listening, and they're going to be going, "Oh, Laura, if she was able to get through this, I have hope. I have." It's about helping just that one person, and I
Yep.
preach that every single time that I come on the show. Just that one person. If we reach out and touch you tonight, guys, man, we've done our jobs, and that's
Yep.
one thing that I love sharing. So um, let's go ahead and let me ask you, going forward, about this is kind of like what I've asked most people whenever we come on, because it does play into what we're talking about. So how have you had to um, adapt personally and career wise with everything that's going on in the environment around us right now? So I know that I kind of mentioned that a little bit, because again, it's always changing every day. There's always something new,
Yep.
and people are always still searching for a good word, a good sign. So how's that been affecting you? And how would you say you tell somebody going through the same thing?
So for me, I will have to say I'm blessed in that I'm still working. I'm not out of work, so that I'm very thankful for that. So that really gives me a different perspective. I'm not worried about making my house payment and things like that. So I am really blessed that way. But what I will say is that it has slowed my life down to where they're calling this the great pause. And I really like that term. And for me, I'm a goer. I'm a doer. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, so I'm an achiever.
There you go.
So, but for me, it's like I want to take this is a learning opportunity. This is a
There you
collective
go.
pause that the world was given, and I want to come out the other end a better person than when I came in. If I don't change or figure out how to slow down, how to, this is a collective pause for me my life was getting a little bit like on the hamster wheel again. And it's like, okay, this got me back off that hamster wheel. And I see this as a learning experience, as an opportunity to come out better than when we started. Who can I be different? How can I improve and be a different person? We can, and I always say this, we can rail against what's going on. And in the beginning, obviously it's like, oh, this isn't happening and we have to be stuck at home and this and kind of thing. But at some point, this is the reality. This is what we're living in. So you can choose to accept it and make the best of it, or you can continue to rail against it. But I choose to accept it, see it for what it is, and each day work on myself, make myself better. And then at the same time, reach out to my clients, reach out to anyone who wants, just a positive message, stay positive. I believe that joy is a state of being. So no matter what's going on, if you're having a bad day or a good day or something, is like not going well in your life, you still have that joy. It is a state of being and you always have it. So that's how I kind of look at it. Just I'm silver lining. What's the blessing in all of this? What can you learn? How can you be a better person on the other side when we get through it?
Yeah, and that's a beautiful message. And that's something that, again, every day I get to come on it and I get to tell everybody the same sort of deal. It's about being positive. It's about looking for those silver linings. So if you still haven't figured it out, that these are the times to, again, like you said, learn, use this time constructively, find ways to, if you were, again, like say something about wanting to start your own business or step out and take that risk, learn the tools, learn the things that you would want to do and get all that stuff together so that if and when this does pass, you'll be able to go and say, you know what, now's the time to make the jump, make the leap.
Exactly.
Because if you're sitting here waiting for the perfect opportunity to happen, I don't know anybody I've ever talked to that said, yeah, everything was just perfect and I just started and we took off.
And that's exactly right. I mean, you have to do, and I also feel like this is the time, and you mentioned it, most people are not working as hard. They're at home. They have the time. Use it wisely. Learn. And so for me, a lot of my clients are high-powered women in the corporate world. Well, if they're not working, they're finally getting to slow down. They're finally getting off the hamster wheel. So let's take that opportunity and discover who you really are.
Yeah, and find again, like you said, find those joys. In life. And help figure out who you're supposed to be in life again, and it's this sort of thing that we are supposed to be continually learning throughout most our lives. So if you don't take the opportunity to say, you know what, there are ways for me to improve myself, improve your soft skills, improve all the things that you've wanted to do. So if you are really doing a career that you're in love with passionately, you'll be able to go back into it and jump back into it, with this incredible fervor and hunger that you're going to be able to, that people are going to be, oh, wow, what did you do over the time that you were out? Well, I learned these things. I went out and learned this. I went out and learned that. I studied, because again, this was my lesson. I took this time to learn how to do live streaming and video and learning interviewing skills. Again, I didn't have any previous experience learning how to interview people. I just had the ability to have a conversation with somebody. So I kind of just went and took lessons that I've seen from other people that I saw were a little bit more polished and that sort of thing, and just took notes and said, this guy's great. I love what he does here. I love this aspect about what this person does, and kind of, put it into my own style so that it comes across. And you feel this, I feel this passion and burning now every single day when I get up. And it's, I have to admit, it was not there before I found this. Because it was the same sort of deal. I really didn't have a true north compass. I didn't know a direction. I just knew I was walking. I just never knew where.
Right.
And I found this, and now it's pretty much what we talked about, my passion project. And again, and then on top of that, I get to have incredible conversations with so many people, so many interesting people that have incredible stories, experiences, journeys, who get to come on here, and I get to be the forum for them to share their wisdom and the things that they've learned, so that somebody else will see this, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe in a month.
Right.
They go and look up and they say, you know what, I want to. They go into Google or YouTube and they type in Laura Rubin, and this video pops up, and they start watching it, and it touches them, inspires them. That's, to me, that's the true beauty of what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with you guys. It starts with, first of all, the people that I bring on that have these incredible messages, and then it also involves the people that come on and share the show with me, the people that are watching. Without none of you, even everything that I'm doing isn't possible. And again, I get to share this forum, and I'm really thankful and grateful for having you come on, Laura. I do appreciate you taking the time out. So let's go ahead and go a little bit further into the questioning. So, we talked about you help women find their voices and stuff. So what is the one of the things that you stress to women who want to seek change? What is the one thing that you would tell them that this is something you should really, really, really concentrate on if you're going to make any kind of change in your life? Because again, making a change takes commitment, or else you're just going back to the same things that you've always done. So what's the one thing that you would stress women who want to come up to you and say, look, I see what you've said, and I want to make a change. What do I need to do? What's the one thing that I should really concentrate on and focus on doing that?
I think the first thing is believe in yourself. I've had several clients tell me, I'm upset that I don't know where I'm at yet. That I should know this by now. Trust yourself, believe in yourself, give yourself a little credit that you're here, you're ready to make that leap. And then just take one step at a time. What is the next right step that you can take to get you to that next place? And then what's the next right step after that? That's the one thing we have to remember, is it is a journey. It is going to take a while. You're not going to get from A to D without doing B and C. So give yourself, credit, give yourself some grace, and know that it's going to be a process to get to where you're going, but you're not too old. You can always change your life and make it for the better. And just to trust and believe. And then again, I'm going to say, go out and find somebody to help you. Group of girls, your best friends, hire someone if you need to, whatever, just to help you on that path and to keep you accountable. I'm going to go back to my personal training clients that I've had in the past. For the most part, most of them were well versed in working out. So they didn't need me to go work out on a regular basis, but they wanted the accountability from me. They wanted to know that when they showed up, that I would push them harder than they would push if they were doing it themselves. I would create the programs and that they wouldn't have to worry about it. They show up, work out, go home. So it's the same thing with, you can do it on your own, but it may take that much longer. And why waste time? Why not get to where you want to be that much faster?
Yeah. And again, you're sitting there saying that, if you have, it's like the person that's driving around lost without directions.
Yeah.
And when it would be so much easier just to stop and ask somebody, hey, can you tell me how to get from point A to point B? And most of the times you usually kick yourself because that person kicks themselves. And they say, I should have just done this in the first place.
Yep.
Which is awesome that you kind of hold those people, but people seek you out because they want to be accountable.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I will say that comes from my own experience. One of the reasons that I would start and stop things is because I did it all on my own. And so when it got hard, or I got stuck or hit a crossroads and I didn't know which way to go, I just fell back to what I knew and did the easy stuff. So I realized that if I really wanted to make a go of this, and this really was my true calling, which I felt like it was, then I needed to find someone that would come alongside me and walk me through and hold my hand and push me when I needed to get pushed. And so I realized that I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have that accountability as well. And that's why I realize it's so important, because it's so easy to go back to what you know and the comfort zone when things get hard or you get overwhelmed or confused about what the next steps are.
Yeah. And that's kind of, for me, I kind of consider my audience my accountability partners, because, I've put in the time and the effort, and I know that if I just step to the side and not, say like, oh my God, maybe not today is not today. I know that first of all, I need that. So, you know what? I'm going to put that together, just because that's why, like, sometimes when people cancel, I'll still do solo shows. I still do talks by myself. And, because again, there's people that are, that's the way about being consistent. And again, like you talk about being accountable. So I know that if I'm going to make the commitment, and again, nobody's forcing me to do this, right? Nobody's forcing me. But again, I want to be accountable because I do want to do this. And I know what I know what the alternative is if I just go, you know what, let me just step away, and they won't miss it for one day. No.
Right.
I know that what I've dealt myself in the past, I've kind of done like you. I start and I stop.
Yeah.
And my whole deal for the whole year has been to push myself and challenge. And this is part of it, is to not give up and to keep going on. Mm-hmm. And again, my goal right now is 100 episodes. So you're actually episode 41. So I'm getting close to the halfway mark.
Yes, you are.
And I know that by the time I hit like maybe episode 75, I know what by that point, I know I'm going to reach my goal.
Yeah.
And that's why I've set something so lofty, and it's going to help me kind of teach me a little bit more about myself and a lot of the expectations that I've placed in front of me that I'm going to actually commit to and reach. Mm-hmm. And because I've done this before in the past, where I've set things out. I've done a blog before, and with the blog, I was doing a sort of everyday, sort of kind of like this, right? Every day. And then after a while, I said, you know what? I'll just take the night off. I won't post the blog, right? And then 2 nights happen.
Yeah.
And before you know it's a week gone by before I posted again. And I said, you know what? That was a lesson that I learned. So for not this time. So this time, every day, here it is, 7 a.m., let's say 7 p.m., I go on until I reach the goal of 100. And then at that point, I've made the goal, and then I'll reassess everything.
Yeah.
Reassess and go, okay, now what's the next step? Let's keep going. Is it 200 episodes? Is it, so those are all the things that I'm looking for as well. And, again, it all goes back, and it all starts with bringing on people like yourself and having incredible conversations. And again, you sharing all your experiences with me, because I'm learning something from you right now. And hopefully everybody who's been following along on LinkedIn, and there's still people posting comments, and then people who are on Facebook and Twitter who might see this now or later on YouTube and see this and comment and actually then they watch the whole thing and they get a lesson out of this. This is what it's set up to do, and this is what I love to do. So let me ask these, and usually the kind of the last 2 questions that I usually go into. Okay. But let me start with the next to last question, which is, once we get past all this, right? Once all this is past, because it will, we as a society have gotten past worse things. We've been through world wars. We've been through bubonic plagues. We've been through all these things where we didn't even have modern medicine and still survived as a culture and as a society. So going forward, what are some of the plans that you have laid out that you're kind of working on right now? And what's the one thing that you want to do personally once we're able to just go back and be out free again?
So personally, as I mentioned before, I want to travel. I've been to Italy a couple times, and I'll most likely go back. Now, granted, it will be a little bit before we do, but traveling personally will be the first thing that I will do. Professionally, we'll get back to planning a True North traveler gathering. Overall though, what I'm going to be braver. I am going to shout a little bit louder about my message, and because I think it's important, especially in this time. It's just brought it back, the importance of knowing who you are and what making sure the things that you do matter for you and that you're aligned. I'm going to be a little braver about my message and a little louder about my message, and shout it a little from the rooftops a little more. So that's what I'm actually looking forward to, is just taking that, being a little more active, a little bit more out there. So being brave.
There you go. I love that. That's an awesome answer, because, I tell people now, go ahead, share your message, get it out there. That's the only way that you're really going to find who you're actually supposed to come, who's supposed to come to you. There's people that are going to come to you and show up to you one day, and the only way they're going to really find it is kind of like what we're doing now. I'm standing with you on the rooftop and we're shouting, "Hey guys, come check out Laura."
So, and my overall mission, what really drives me, is I want to change the stigma of midlife and the fear of it, so that women embrace it as their superpower. That's really ultimately what I want to do, one woman at a time. So, I want society to see us as a force, the midlife demographic as a force to be reckoned with. We're wise, we have great information, and we need to be respected and not forgotten. We're kind of this forgotten middle element. And so, that's my biggest mission, is to change the stigma.
Yeah. And because, you're at some point in every young girl's life, right? They see themselves with all the opportunity in the world, right? And you see, whatever it is, I want to be a princess. I want to be the president of the United States. So again, why does it have to stop at a certain age? Our presidents, our last couple presidents, are kind of examples of what you can do even in your older age. I mean, our president now is in his 70s. So why cannot there be a woman president in her 70s or her 60s, whatever it is? I'm still waiting for that, because I will relish that day, because that's something that, again, I can go back and say, look, even me as a male, know that with me raising 4 daughters, look, girls, anything is possible. And I mean, anything. So, even now, I point to, across the pond, and I say, look at some of the women who are running other nations and other places. It's possible. And even now, they're spotlighting a lot of what these women have done. I was just actually, before I came out here, watching a report where they're saying that the nations where women were in charge, their recoveries and their rates of keeping things down are astronomically better than a lot of other nations, because they took the precautions and they knew to trust their intuition. And I go, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing that again, we have the stigma, and I'm glad that you're trying to get rid of that, because again, I don't think to me, it's not a fair stigma at all. It's when how come when when a guy reaches his midlife, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
They get to be, now he's kind of, they always say he's compared to a fine wine. He get better with age, and And I go, you don't know.
Yeah.
That was some.
So, and one of the things is we aren't out. I'm not my mother's midlife. Like I talk to my mom, she goes, well, what are you doing? And so I talk to her about what I'm doing. And she's like, well, when I was 55, I didn't feel that way. This is a different life. We're in a different place. So she doesn't understand, but we are in a different place, and midlife now is lived completely different and should be lived. We have so much life left to give and to do. So that's, like I said, that's my big mission.
Yeah, and I love that. And again, I still say that even when you reach your 40s, your mid 40s, you're only about halfway there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because the life expectancy has gone up. So
that's right. And it isn't that they're and I read they're not tacking on those extra years at the end. Those years are tacked on in the middle. They're in the middle where we can live them and use them and make the most of them. So that's the important thing to remember.
Yeah, and they're just looking at the end of the spectrum and not seeing all the middle part where a lot of things are still formulated, and people can still do amazing things, create amazing things, be amazing people. And it's just right now when I hear people talk about that, because now I'm here in my mid 40s.
Yeah, there you go.
I say I hear somebody talking. I have a few young friends who are actually coworkers, and they're always talking about, hey, how you're in your 40s, right? So how much has changed with this and that? And I said, man, nothing's really changed except my age, and getting a little bit more wisdom. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Those are the few things, again, that I wish. And I've heard a lot of older people say, I wish I would have known when I was younger. Because again, that's how you're going to earn your stripes, and just going through life and gaining this sort of knowledge. So I think we kind of had this kind of discussion about what if women who were in their younger age were being taught what you're trying to teach them now in their 40s, to teach them at their 20s, so that by the time they reach this middle age, they know who they are. They know.
That's right.
They know what their structure is and who they are and how confident, what their passions in life, and they're not spending that time looking for that fulfillment.
Right.
And that was an interesting aspect when you brought that up. And I said, you know what? That's something that I think at some point needs to be broached and introduced, because it could make a world of difference for generation.
And in our 20s, we've gotten out of high school, we've gone into college, now we're going to go to the job, then we're going to get married, then we're going to have kids. That's kind of the progression, and you're ticking off all the boxes. So as far as society, as far as what you're seeing, what you're watching your friends, what your family's done, you feel like you're on the right trajectory. I mean, this is it. This is what you want. This is what they want. But how about, what if we taught them, or as 20-year-olds, we figured out who we took the time to really figure out who we really are. What would our trajectory look like? Would we be making the same decisions? Would we be doing the same things? And like you said, when we hit 40, we're not lost. We've already figured that out, and we're making the most, of our like 90 years on the world.
And that's a great aspect to actually taking your approach and using it to go beyond just teaching women in their 40s, but teaching women from the beginning of getting out on their own. And I love that. So this is usually the last question, and I ask all my guests this, and I always say, it's kind of morbid, but not, but it's always about, what kind of legacy, when everything's said and done in your chapters in your book, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind for the world? What do you want to be remembered for? What is the one thing they say, well, this is what I remember about Laura?
I want to be a thought leader and a visionary of what midlife can be for women. And honestly, I wouldn't mind including teaching the younger generation to, I just want women overall, to realize that they realize who they are, what matters to them, and live a life on their terms. I want to inspire and educate, empower those women to live the best of their ability.
Yeah, that's great. And that's awesome that, great message, great way that you bring it across to people. And I love the fact that once we get past this, you're going to be braver, louder, stronger.
That's right.
And anytime that I can help spread that message, please share it with me, because I would love to get it out there. So guys, thank you again for coming on the show, Laura. I do appreciate sharing your time and your message with me, and of course with everybody else. And here we are again, going on 55 minutes, and I tell you, an hour goes by so fast, and you don't even realize it. So
it's awesome.
It's again, yeah.
It was fun. Thank you. Thanks for letting me be on and be on the show and let me shout my message.
There you go, guys. So guys, if you want to go check out her stuff, her workshops, if you want to go work with Laura, go to her website. You can see the website down there. It's at www.lauramarierubin.com. You can find the links to her True North Gathering workshops whenever those resume. You can also find the links to her one-on-one coaching. You can also find her About page, learn a little bit more about Laura. I'm pretty sure she shared a lot here this evening, but if you want to read up on her and just, again, reach out to her. A consultation, that sort of thing, doesn't cost anything.
Yep.
You can learn more about, if you're wanting to discover who you are in your midlife, and let her help navigate you to where you need to go. So again, thank you for hopping on, Laura. And everybody, I do appreciate all the gratitude in the world for coming on and sharing this forum with me. Again, this is nothing without you guys. It's nothing without Laura, and I do appreciate everybody hopping on. So before I go, let me just go ahead and give out a little bit of shout out to tomorrow evening's guest. He is known as the Godfather of LinkedIn, and he is I'm glad to call him a personal friend. We've had conversations before. I've been on a few of his live shows, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are on LinkedIn are pretty familiar with him. So tomorrow evening's guest is going to be Brian Shulman. We'll be here at 7:00, everybody. If you haven't connected to Laura, you can go check out all her social media pages. Again, her links there are onto the website, but I'll also drop it in the show notes afterwards. And then I'll upload all this stuff to every single social media platform that I interact on, so that everybody can go back and find it. And then you can just type it in and look in the search engine to find Laura Rubin, and hopefully she'll be the first thing that pops up to you guys. So thank you again, Laura, for coming on. Thank you for sharing your message. Again, check her out one more time, www.lauramarierubin.com. Sign up. Excuse me, connect with her. And again, I'll see you guys tomorrow night, Wednesday evening, 7:00. Brian Shulman will be on. Thank you. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe. Still practice social distancing. Do your 6 feet. Wash your hands. We're all going to get through this again. And I know that everything seems to be changing. There is hope, guys. Just always look for the silver lining. So thanks again. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7:00. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.